Marcus stood in the hallway of their downtown apartment, watching Elisha Agustin pack another overnight bag. The same black leather duffel she'd been reaching for every Friday for the past month. She moved with practiced efficiency, folding clothes into neat squares, her manicured fingers never pausing as she spoke without looking at him. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. I need time to think, Marcus. Space to figure things out. You understand, right? Her voice carried that soft, apologetic tone she'd perfected, the one that made questioning her feel selfish. He leaned against the doorframe, coffee growing cold in his hands. How much time? I don't know. However long it takes. She zipped the bag shut with a sharp pull. Don't wait up tonight. I'll probably crash at Diana's again. That was the fourth weekend in a row she'd needed space. The fourth time she'd mentioned Diana's couch. The fourth time he'd nodded like a understanding boyfriend while something twisted in his chest. The routine had started subtly. Elisha would come home from her marketing job at the tech startup with shoulders tensed, claiming the pressure was overwhelming. She needed quiet. She needed room to breathe. She needed Marcus to understand that love sometimes meant giving someone space to grow. Marcus had understood. He'd been understanding for 3 months now. He worked construction management for a mid-sized firm, pulling 10-hour days, coordinating crews, and managing budgets. When he came home to their shared apartment in the Arts District, he wanted nothing more than to cook dinner together, maybe watch something mindless on streaming, feel her laugh against his shoulder. Simple things, couple things. But Elisha needed time. She'd arrive home 20 minutes after him, always on her phone, always finishing a conversation that couldn't wait. She'd kiss his cheek in passing, grab a protein bar from the pantry, and disappear into the bedroom to decompress. When she emerged an hour later, she'd be dressed for the gym or meeting friends for drinks or attending some work event that had come up last minute. You should come, she'd say, but her tone suggested she hoped he wouldn't. Marcus learned to stop asking where she was going. He learned to stop suggesting they make plans together. He learned to say have fun instead of I miss you when she grabbed her keys. He learned to be understanding. The apartment they shared overlooked the river, with floor-to-ceiling windows that caught the sunset perfectly at 7:30 each evening. Marcus had chosen this place specifically for those windows, imagining quiet dinners where they'd watch the light fade together. Instead, he found himself eating alone most nights, the golden hour reflection bouncing off empty wine glasses and unopened takeout containers. Elisha would text around 9, "Running late. Don't worry about dinner for me." By the time she returned, usually after 11, Marcus would be reading in bed or catching up on project blueprints. She'd slide in beside him, smelling like wine and someone else's perfume, and mumble something about networking or client entertainment or team building. Her explanations always sounded reasonable in the dark. "You're so good to me," she'd whisper, pressing a quick kiss to his temple before turning away to scroll through her phone. "I know this is a lot. The job is just crazy right now." Marcus would lie there listening to the soft tapping of her manicured nails against the screen, watching the glow illuminate her face in profile. She looked beautiful in that light, peaceful, like someone who'd found exactly what she was looking for. He wasn't sure what he was looking for anymore. The shift became more pronounced after Elisha's company landed a major client in February. Suddenly, every conversation revolved around launch strategies and brand positioning and creative campaigns that required her presence at evening brainstorming sessions and weekend strategy retreats. "This is huge for my career," she explained one Thursday morning, applying lipstick in the bathroom mirror while Marcus shaved beside her. "If I can nail this account, I'll be up for senior associate by summer." "That's great," Marcus said, rinsing his razor. "I'm proud of you. I knew you'd understand." She capped the lipstick and turned to study her reflection. "Jordan says most boyfriends get jealous when their girlfriends start moving up, but you're different." Jordan was her coworker, a guy Marcus had met once at a company holiday party. He'd seemed nice enough, though Marcus noticed how Jordan's eyes followed Elisha when she moved through the room, how he found excuses to touch her elbow when making points in conversation. Jordan says a lot of things, Marcus replied, toweling off his face. He's actually really insightful about relationships. His ex used to guilt trip him constantly about work commitments, made him choose between his career and keeping her happy. Elisha smoothed her skirt and checked her phone. I'm so lucky you're not like that. Marcus studied her face in the mirror. When do I see you next? What do you mean? You see me every day. When do we see each other? Like actually spend time together? Elisha's expression flickered with something that might have been irritation before settling back into patient understanding. Marcus, we live together. We're together all the time. We share an address. That's different. You're being dramatic. She kissed his cheek, leaving a faint lipstick print. I have to run. Client breakfast at 8. She was gone before Marcus could respond, leaving behind the scent of her expensive perfume and the sound of her heels clicking down the hallway. That evening, Marcus cooked salmon and roasted vegetables for two. He set the table with the good plates, opened a bottle of wine, and waited. 7:30 came and went. 8 o'clock. 8:30. At 9:15, his phone buzzed. Crisis at work. We'll be super late. So sorry. Rain check? Marcus looked at the congealed fish on the plates, the wine that had lost its chill, the candles he'd lit that were now just puddles of wax. He scraped the food into containers, washed the dishes, and ate a sandwich standing at the kitchen counter. When Elisha returned after midnight, she found him reading on the couch. You didn't have to wait up, she said, dropping her purse and kicking off her heels. I wasn't waiting, just couldn't sleep. She curled up beside him, tucking her feet under her body. You're upset. I'm tired. Of what? Marcus closed his book and looked at her. Really looked. Her makeup was perfect despite the long day. Her hair still held its morning style. She looked like someone who'd spent the evening at a business dinner, not someone who'd been in crisis mode for 6 hours. When was the last time we had dinner together? He asked. Elisha frowned, as if trying to recall something from the distant past. We eat together all the time. When? Sunday morning. We had pancakes. That was 3 weeks ago, and you left halfway through to take a call. It was important. They're all important. Elisha shifted position, creating more space between them on the couch. Marcus, you know I'm trying to build something here. This opportunity won't last forever. But if I can prove myself now, it sets us up for the future. Our future. What future? We can't even plan a dinner. That's temporary. Once things settle down. When? When do things settle down? Because every time I think they might, there's another project, another client, another crisis that requires your immediate attention. Elisha's phone buzzed against the coffee table. She glanced at it instinctively, her attention splitting even in the middle of their conversation. See? Marcus gestured toward the phone. Even now. It might be urgent. It's midnight. The client is on the West Coast. Different time zones, different schedules. She picked up the phone and scanned the message. Her fingers moved quickly across the screen, typing a response. Marcus watched her face illuminate in the blue glow. She looked more animated responding to that text than she had talking to him all week. Elisha. Huh? She didn't look up. Put the phone down. Just let me finish this thought. Put the phone down. Something in her tone made her look up. She saw his expression and slowly placed the device face down on the table. There. Happy? When did we stop being a priority for each other? You're always a priority for me, Marcus, but I have responsibilities. So do I. I manage $12 million construction projects. I coordinate with city planners and architects and union foremen and safety inspectors. I handle crises every day. But when I come home, I'm present. I'm here. And I appreciate that. Do you? Because it feels like you see me the same way you see the furniture. Just part of the apartment you come back to when everything else is finished. Elisha's posture straightened, her voice taking on the professional tone she used for difficult clients. That's not fair. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now, back to the story. You know how hard I'm working. I know you're working hard. I don't know if you're working toward us or away from us. What's that supposed to mean? Marcus leaned back against the couch cushions, suddenly exhausted. It means I can't remember the last time you seemed excited to see me. The last time you asked about my day or my projects or anything happening in my life that doesn't directly affect your schedule. That's not true. When's my presentation to the City Planning Commission? Elisha blinked. Your what? The presentation I've been preparing for 6 weeks. The one that determines whether we get the riverfront development contract. The one I mentioned every day last week because I was nervous about it. Her mouth opened slightly, then closed. There's been so much going on at work. It's Tuesday. What? The presentation is Tuesday, 3 days from now. The biggest opportunity of my career, and you don't even know when it's happening. Elisha reached for his hand, but he pulled back. Marcus, I'm sorry. I've been so focused on the Meridian account. There's always an account. There's always something more important than what's happening right here. That's not true. Prove it. How? Have dinner with me tomorrow. Here. No phone, no emergencies, no last-minute work events. Just us. Elisha hesitated for a fraction of a second too long. Of course, yes, absolutely. You're already thinking of reasons why you might have to cancel. I'm not. You are. I can see it in your face. You're mentally going through your calendar, figuring out how to qualify this promise so you have an out if something better comes up. Something better? Marcus, work isn't better or worse than our relationship. It's just necessary. And I'm not? The question hung in the air between them like smoke. Elisha's phone buzzed again, and both of them looked at it. She made no move to pick it up, but Marcus could see the effort it took for her to leave it alone. You are, she said finally. You're necessary. You're important. But you're also safe. You're here. You're not going anywhere. Work is different. If I don't stay on top of things, if I don't prove myself every single day, I could lose everything I've worked for. And if you don't stay on top of us, if you don't prove that this matters to you every single day, what do you lose then? Elisha looked at him as if he'd asked a trick question. But you're not going anywhere, she repeated. Marcus felt something shift inside his chest, like a foundation settling. How do you know? Because you love me. And you love me? Of course I do. Then why does it feel like you're already gone? Elisha reached for him again, and this time he didn't pull away. Her hands were soft, manicured, with rings he'd given her for birthdays and anniversaries. I'm right here, Marcus. I'm sitting right next to you. Your body is here, but where are you? Where is your attention, your energy, your excitement? Where is the part of you that used to light up when I walked in the room? When's the last time you asked me to stay in bed an extra 10 minutes? When's the last time you initiated a conversation that wasn't about logistics or schedules? When's the last time you looked at me the way you look at your phone when it buzzes? Elisha's hand stilled in his. You're being unfair. I'm being honest. I have goals, Marcus, dreams. I'm not going to apologize for working toward them. I'm not asking you to apologize. I'm asking you to include me. You are included. You're the most important person in my life. Then act like it. They sat in silence for several minutes. Outside their windows, the city continued its restless movement, cars passing in streams of light, people living their lives in apartments and offices and restaurants. Marcus wondered how many of them were having this same conversation, feeling this same slow disillusion of something that used to feel solid. I need time, Elisha said finally. You have time. 24 hours every day, same as everyone else. I need time to figure out how to balance everything. Work is intense right now, but it won't always be this way. Once I get promoted, once I prove myself, I'll have more control over my schedule. And then there will be new responsibilities, more pressure, higher stakes. Maybe, but I'll be better positioned to handle them. Marcus studied her face in the soft light from the street lamps. She looked sincere, hopeful even. She genuinely believed that success would bring them closer together instead of further apart. How long? He asked. What? How long do you need? I don't know. A few months, maybe 6 months to get through this launch and see where I stand for promotion. 6 months of this? 6 months of you being patient while I build something that benefits both of us. Marcus nodded slowly. And what do I do for 6 months? What you've been doing. Being supportive, being understanding, being alone. You're not alone. You have me. Do I? Elisha's phone buzzed again, a sharp sound that cut through their conversation like a knife. This time she didn't even glance at it, but Marcus could see the effort it took to ignore it. Her body tensed slightly, her attention divided, even when she was trying to focus entirely on him. I should get some sleep, she said finally. Tomorrow's gonna be crazy. She kissed his forehead and headed toward the bedroom. At the doorway, she paused. Marcus, I do love you. I know it doesn't always feel like it, but I do. I know. I love you too. But as he watched her disappear into the bedroom, Marcus realized that love might not be enough. Love without presence was just a word. Love without priority was just a promise that never got kept. He stayed on the couch until the early hours of morning, watching the city slowly wake up through their expensive windows, thinking about time and how people chose to spend it, thinking about the difference between being someone's safety net and being someone's choice. When his alarm went off at 6:30, Elisha was already gone. A note on the kitchen counter explained that she had an early breakfast meeting, but she'd try be home for dinner. "Let's talk more tonight," she'd written. "I want to make this work." Marcus folded the note and put it in his pocket. He made coffee for one, ate breakfast standing at the counter, and got ready for another day of managing other people's priorities while his own relationship managed itself into something he barely recognized. At work, his project manager Jake noticed his mood during their morning briefing. "You look like someone canceled Christmas," Jake said, spreading blueprints across the conference table. "Just tired. Woman troubles?" Marcus considered deflecting, but Jake had been married for 15 years. If anyone understood relationship dynamics, it was him. "How do you know when someone's checking out?" Marcus asked. "Checking out of what?" "Everything. The relationship, the partnership, the idea that you're building something together." Jake leaned back in his chair, considering the question seriously. "When they start treating you like a roommate instead of a partner, when they stop including you in their plans, when they act like your needs are optional, but theirs are urgent." And if they say they need time to figure things out? Time to figure out what? Whether they want to be with you? Because that shouldn't be a question if they're all in. Marcus nodded slowly. What if they're building their career? What if the time apart is temporary? Building a career together and building a career instead of a relationship are two different things. Which one feels like what's happening? Marcus didn't need to think about the answer. He'd known it for weeks, maybe months. He'd just been hoping that understanding and patience would somehow transform Elisha's priorities, that love would eventually win out over ambition. "The second one," he admitted. "Then you have a choice to make. You can keep being patient and hope things change, or you can start making decisions based on what's actually happening instead of what you wish was happening." That evening, Marcus came home to find Elisha already there, which was unusual enough to give him hope. She'd changed out of her work clothes into jeans and a sweater, and she was chopping vegetables at the kitchen island. "Hi," she said, looking up with a smile. "I'm making stir-fry, your favorite." "This is a surprise. A good one, I hope." She kissed his cheek when he joined her at the counter. "I've been thinking about what you said last night. You're right, I haven't been as present as I should be." Marcus felt the familiar tug of hope mixed with wariness. "What changed your mind?" "Nothing changed my mind. I just realized I need to be better at showing you how important you are to me." She moved around the kitchen with practiced efficiency, the same way she moved through everything else in her life. Organized, purposeful, checking items off an invisible list. "How was your day?" she asked, heating oil in the wok. "Busy. We're finalizing the riverfront proposal." "That's right, the presentation. When is that again?" "Tuesday." "I should put it in my calendar so I can be extra supportive that day." Marcus watched her pull out her phone and add the event. It felt mechanical, like she was scheduling an oil change. "You don't have to perform support, Elisha. I just want you to care." "I do care. That's why I'm putting it in my calendar." "Because otherwise you'd forget. Because I want to make sure I'm available for you." They cooked together in relative quiet, the sizzle of vegetables filling the spaces between conversation. It felt almost normal, almost like the early days of their relationship when they'd spent hours in this kitchen talking about everything and nothing. Elisha's phone remained face down on the counter, though Marcus noticed her glance at it several times when she thought he wasn't looking. "So," she said as they sat down to eat, "I've been thinking about the next few months." "Oh, the Meridian project wraps up in April. After that, I should have more bandwidth for us. Maybe we could plan a vacation. Somewhere tropical, no work, just us." "That sounds nice. I was thinking the Bahamas, or maybe Costa Rica. Somewhere with good beaches and no cell service." Marcus smiled despite himself. "You want to go somewhere with no cell service? I know, right? But I think it would be good for me. Good for us. Force me to disconnect completely. And until April, what happens between now and then?" Elisha set down her fork, and Marcus could see her switching into negotiation mode. "I need you to be patient with me. I know it's not ideal, but this opportunity is bigger than I initially thought. If I can land this promotion, it changes everything for us. Better salary, better benefits, more stability. More responsibility. Well, yes, but also more control over my schedule. Senior associates have more autonomy, or more pressure to prove they deserve the title." Elisha's jaw tightened slightly. "Why are you being negative about this?" "I'm not being negative, I'm being realistic. Every promotion you've gotten has meant longer hours, not shorter ones. More stress, not less. This is different." "How?" "Because I'll have a team underneath me. I'll be able to delegate." "And who will you delegate our relationship to?" The question came out sharper than Marcus intended, but he didn't take it back. Elisha stared at him across the table, her expression cycling through hurt, anger, and something that looked like calculation. "That's not fair," she said finally. "Neither is being asked to wait indefinitely for someone to decide I'm worth their time. I never said." "You don't have to say it. You show it every day." Elisha's phone buzzed against the counter. Both of them looked at it. The screen lit up with a message preview, and Marcus caught a glimpse of a name he didn't recognize before Elisha quickly flipped the phone face down. "Aren't you going to check that? It can wait." "Can it? Because 5 minutes ago you were committed to this conversation, and now you're distracted by a message you haven't even read." "I'm not distracted. Look at me." Elisha met his eyes, but he could see the effort it took. "Now, tell me honestly, are you thinking about that message right now?" "Marcus, are you wondering who it's from, what it says, whether it's something urgent you need to respond to?" "Maybe a little. Even though you're here, having dinner with your boyfriend, trying to save your relationship, it's probably work. It's always work. That's my point." Elisha reached across the table for his hand. "Look, I know I'm not perfect. I know I get distracted, but I'm trying. Are you? Or are you just managing me the way you manage your other obligations?" "What does that mean?" "It means this dinner feels like a scheduled meeting. It means you're saying the right words, but your mind is somewhere else. It means you're treating our relationship like another item on your to-do list that you need to check off before you can get back to the important stuff." Elisha pulled her hand back. "That's not true." "Then prove it." "How?" Marcus stood up and walked to where her phone lay on the counter. He picked it up and held it out to her. "Turn it off." "Marcus, turn it off for the rest of the evening. No messages, no calls, no notifications. Just us." Elisha stared at the phone in his outstretched hand, as if he were offering her a live grenade. What if there's an emergency? What kind of emergency requires a marketing associate at 9 o'clock on a Thursday night? You never know. "Turn it off, Elisha." "I can just put it on silent." "Turn it off." They looked at each other across the kitchen, the phone suspended between them like a test neither of them was sure they wanted to take. "This is ridiculous," Elisha said finally. "You're being controlling. I'm asking my girlfriend to be present for one evening. If that feels controlling to you, what does that say about where your priorities actually are?" Elisha took the phone from his hand, stared at the screen for a long moment, then powered it down. She set it back on the counter with deliberate care. "There. Happy? It's a start." But Marcus could see the tension in her shoulders, the way her eyes kept drifting to where the phone lay dark and silent. She looked like someone fighting withdrawal, and they both knew it. They finished dinner making stilted conversation about safe topics. The weather, a movie they'd both seen, plans for the weekend that they both knew would probably get canceled. Every few minutes, Elisha's gaze would flick to her phone, and Marcus would see her check the time on the microwave clock. "I should probably turn it back on," she said, "in case Diana needs to reach me." "Diana? My friend Diana. I told you about her. The one whose couch you've been sleeping on every weekend?" Elisha paused in loading the dishwasher. "I haven't been sleeping on her couch. Where have you been sleeping?" "At her place, but not on the couch. She has a guest room." "Why do you need a guest room if you're just hanging out?" "Because sometimes we talk late and it's easier to just stay over." "What do you talk about?" "Girl stuff. Work, relationships, life." "What about our relationship specifically?" Elisha's hands stilled on the dishes. "What do you mean?" "I mean, when you're discussing relationships with Diana, what do you tell her about us?" We don't really focus on that." "But you must mention it. You must talk about the fact that you're living with someone, that you're in a 3-year relationship." "Of course I mention it." "What do you say?" Elisha closed the dishwasher and turned to face him. "Why are you interrogating me?" "I'm not interrogating you. I'm trying to understand how you think about us when you're not with me." "I think about us all the time." "Do you? Or do you think about how to manage me so I don't interfere with the other things you want to do?" "Marcus, stop. You're being paranoid." "Am I? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've built a whole separate life that I'm not part of. Work events I'm not invited to, friend groups I don't know, weekend plans that don't include me. You're invited to plenty of things. Am I? Or am I told about them after you've already decided you don't want me there?" Elisha's phone caught her eye again, still dark on the counter. Marcus could see her calculating how long it had been since she'd checked her messages. "You can turn it on," he said quietly. "What?" "Your phone. Go ahead and turn it on." "I don't need to." "Yes, you do. You've been thinking about it every 30 seconds since you powered it down. You're physically uncomfortable being disconnected. So go ahead, check your messages." Elisha looked at him suspiciously. "This feels like a trap." "It's not a trap. It's an observation. You can't be present with me because you're addicted to being available to everyone else." "I'm not addicted." "Then leave it off." "Fine." But she kept looking at it. 5 minutes later, she was pacing the kitchen. 10 minutes later, she was cleaning counters that were already clean. 15 minutes later, she was reorganizing the spice rack. "Elisha." "What?" "Sit down." "I'm fine." "You're manic. You're cleaning the same spot on the counter for the 3rd time." She stopped moving and looked down at the cloth in her hand as if surprised to find it there. "Maybe I should just check, quickly." "There it is." "What?" "The real Elisha. The one who can't go 20 minutes without external validation." Her face flushed. "That's not what this is about." "What is it about?" "Responsibility. People depend on me." "What people?" "My team, my clients." "At 9:30 on a Thursday night? You never know when something urgent might come up." "And what about me? What about the person who depends on you being here, being present, being engaged in the life we're supposedly building together?" "You're different." "How?" "You're stable. You're not going anywhere." Marcus felt something click into place, like a puzzle piece he'd been turning over in his hands for months, finally finding its proper position. "So because I'm stable, I don't deserve your best attention? Because I'm not going anywhere, you don't have to work to keep me?" "That's not what I meant." "It's exactly what you meant. You take me for granted because I let you take me for granted." Elisha reached for her phone before she could stop herself, then caught herself and pulled her hand back. "I need to check my messages," she said finally. "I know you do. Just for a minute." "It won't be a minute. It'll be 10 minutes, then 20, then an hour. You'll get pulled into conversations and crises and urgent requests that aren't actually urgent. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. I understand that you've chosen that pressure over everything else in your life, including me." Elisha powered on her phone before Marcus finished speaking. The screen immediately flooded with notifications, messages, emails, social media alerts. Her thumb moved instinctively, scrolling through the backlog of communications she'd missed in the 45 minutes since she'd turned it off. Marcus watched her face change as she absorbed the digital noise. Her shoulders relaxed for the first time all evening. Her breathing deepened. She looked like someone who'd finally gotten the fix they'd been craving. "See?" he said quietly. "See what? You're happier looking at that screen than you've been looking at me all night." Elisha glanced up, phone still in her hands. "That's not true. Your whole body language changed the second you turned it on. You look more comfortable, more relaxed, more yourself. I was just worried about missing something important." "You did miss something important. You missed this conversation. You missed the chance to be present with someone who loves you. You missed the opportunity to show me that I matter more than whatever strangers are typing into their phones. These aren't strangers. They're not me." Elisha's phone buzzed with a new message. Her eyes dropped to the screen automatically, and Marcus saw her start to type a response before catching herself. "I should probably—" "Go ahead," Marcus said, standing up from the table. "Answer it. Marcus, answer it. Show me what's more important than this conversation." Elisha's thumb hovered over the keyboard. "It's just Jordan from work. He has a question about tomorrow's presentation." "At 9:30 at night? He's working late. And you need to work late too? It'll just take a second." Marcus nodded and started walking toward the bedroom. "Where are you going?" "To pack." "Pack what?" "Some clothes. I'm going to stay at my brother's place for a few days." Elisha set down her phone. "Why?" "Because I'm tired of competing with a device for your attention. Because I'm tired of being treated like a backup plan. Because you just chose to respond to Jordan's work question instead of fighting for our relationship." "I didn't respond to it." "But you wanted to, and 5 minutes from now you will. And 10 minutes after that, there will be another message, and another one after that. And I'll sit here waiting for scraps of your attention while you live your real life through that screen. That's not fair. What's not fair is being asked to build a relationship with someone who's never fully present. What's not fair is loving someone who treats you like an obligation instead of a choice." Marcus disappeared into the bedroom and emerged with an overnight bag. Elisha followed him, phone still in her hand. "Marcus, stop. Let's talk about this." "We did talk about it. You chose to check your messages instead of listening." "I listened." "You heard words while thinking about your phone. That's not the same thing." He zipped the bag and headed for the door. "So that's it? You're just leaving?" "I'm giving you what you want." "I don't want you to leave." "You want time and space to figure things out. I'm giving you all the time and space you need." "How long?" Marcus paused with his hand on the doorknob. "However long it takes." "For what?" "For you to decide whether you want to be in this relationship or just benefit from it." "What's the difference?" "If you have to ask that question, you already have your answer." Marcus left Elisha standing in their expensive apartment with her phone in her hand and 47 unread messages lighting up the screen. As he drove through the city toward his brother's place, he realized he felt lighter than he had in months. For the first time in a long time, he wasn't waiting for someone else to decide he was worth their time. Marcus spent 3 days at his brother David's place, sleeping on a couch that smelled like takeout and dog hair. David worked as a freelance graphic designer from his cluttered apartment, surrounded by empty energy drink cans and half-finished projects scattered across multiple monitors. "You look like someone who just remembered how to breathe," David observed on Saturday morning, watching Marcus drink coffee without checking his phone every 30 seconds. "I feel like it too." "When's the last time you went 3 days without her texting you a crisis?" Marcus considered the question. His phone had been notably quiet since Thursday night. No emergency calls, no requests for him to pick up groceries or handle some urgent task that had suddenly become his responsibility. "I can't remember," he admitted. "That tells you something." "What?" "That her emergencies are usually about convenience, not actual crisis." Marcus's phone buzzed. Both brothers looked at it simultaneously. Elisha's name appeared on the screen with a message that made Marcus's chest tighten despite everything. "Can we talk? I miss you." David peered over Marcus's shoulder. Classic opener. Emotional appeal without addressing the actual problem. You sound like you've been through this before. Different woman, same playbook. They start with feelings when they realize logic isn't going to work. Marcus set the phone aside without responding. Within 20 minutes, another message appeared. I've been thinking about what you said. You're right about some things. Some things, David noted, not everything. Just enough to get you back so she can manage the situation. The messages continued throughout the day, each one slightly more urgent than the last. By evening, Elisha had moved from missing him to needing to explain herself, to suggesting they meet for dinner to talk things through. She's working down the list, David said, reviewing the message chain. Emotion, acknowledgement, negotiation, urgency. Next comes the deadline. What deadline? David pointed to the newest message. If we don't talk by tomorrow, I'm going to assume you've made your decision. There it is, the artificial time pressure. She's trying to force your hand before you have time to really think. Marcus studied the messages, seeing the pattern David had identified. Each text was carefully crafted to move him toward a specific action without actually addressing the fundamental issues they'd been fighting about. What do you think I should do? What do you want to do? I want to believe she's capable of change. That's not what I asked. Marcus leaned back against the couch cushions, watching David's dog chase its tail in the living room. The animal seemed perfectly content with its simple routine, unburdened by complicated relationships or competing priorities. I want to go home, he said finally, but I want to go home to someone who's actually there. So tell her that. And if she says she can change, then you set conditions, real ones, with real consequences. That evening, Marcus finally responded to Elisha's messages. Instead of calling or agreeing to meet, he sent a single text. I'm willing to talk, but not to negotiate. If you want to have a conversation about our relationship, it happens on neutral ground with no time limits and no phones. Your choice. Elisha's response came within minutes. Yes, when? Tomorrow afternoon, Riverside Park, South Entrance, 2 o'clock. I'll be there. Marcus arrived at the park 15 minutes early, choosing a bench that faced the water but allowed him to see the parking area. He'd spent the morning at his brother's gym, working out months of frustration on weights and treadmills until his mind felt clear and his shoulders felt loose. Elisha appeared exactly at 2 o'clock, which was unusual for someone who typically ran 10 to 15 minutes late for everything. She dressed carefully but casually, in jeans and a sweater that Marcus recognized as one of his favorites. Her makeup was subtle, her hair pulled back in a way that made her look younger, more vulnerable. She sat beside him on the bench, maintaining a careful distance. "Thank you for agreeing to meet," she said. "Thank you for showing up. I brought coffee." She held out a cup from the expensive place downtown that Marcus liked. Double shot, oat milk, no sugar. He accepted the coffee but didn't drink it immediately. "How did you remember my order?" "I pay attention to things that matter." "Do you?" Elisha's composure flickered slightly. "I know you don't think I do." "I think you pay attention to details that serve your purposes. Remembering my coffee order when you need me to forgive you isn't the same as remembering my presentation when it would cost you nothing to be supportive." "You're right about the presentation. I should have remembered. I should have been more supportive." Marcus waited for her to continue, but she seemed to think that acknowledgement was sufficient. "What else?" he asked. "What do you mean? What else are you right about?" Elisha shifted position on the bench, angling herself toward him. "I've been distant. I've been prioritizing work over our relationship. I've been taking you for granted." The words sounded rehearsed, like talking points she'd prepared for a difficult client meeting. "Why?" Marcus asked. "Why what? Why have you been doing those things?" "Because I'm ambitious. Because I want to build something meaningful with my career." "And you can't do that while being present in our relationship?" "It's not that simple." "Explain it to me." Elisha looked out at the water, where a family was feeding ducks near the shore. "When I was growing up, my mom gave up everything for my dad. Her career, her friends, her interests. She made him the center of her universe, And when he left, she had nothing. No identity, no income, no life outside of being someone's wife. I'm not asking you to give up your career. I know you're not. But sometimes it feels like I have to choose. Like I can either be successful at work or successful in our relationship, but not both. Why does it feel that way? Because there are only so many hours in a day. Because the people I'm competing with for promotions are working 60-hour weeks and answering emails at midnight. Because if I'm not available when my boss needs me, someone else will be. Marcus sipped his coffee, considering her words. And where do I fit in that equation? You're my foundation. You're the stable thing that lets me take risks with everything else. So I'm your safety net? You're my partner. What's the difference? Elisha frowned as if the question didn't make sense. A safety net catches you when you fall. A partner builds things with you. What are we building together? The question hung between them like a challenge. Elisha opened her mouth to respond, then closed it again. Our future, she said finally. What does that look like? I don't know yet, but once I get established in my career, once I have some security, we can make bigger plans. Like what? Marriage, maybe? Kids? A house? Maybe? Probably. Yes, definitely. When? When I'm ready. When will that be? I don't know exactly. A few years? Marcus set down his coffee cup. So for the next few years, I should be patient while you focus on your career, and then, someday, when you're ready, we'll start building a life together. That's not how I meant it. How did you mean it? I meant that I need some time to establish myself professionally before we take on bigger commitments. And what do I do while you're establishing yourself? What you've been doing. Being supportive. Being alone. You're not alone. We live together. We share an address. We don't share a life. Elisha reached for his hand, but he didn't respond to the gesture. Marcus, I know I haven't been the best girlfriend lately, but I'm trying to build something that benefits both of us. How does it benefit me when you're never present? How does it benefit us when you prioritize your coworkers over your boyfriend? How does it benefit our relationship when you treat it like a background process running on your phone while you focus on more important applications? That's not a fair comparison, isn't it? You literally can't turn off your phone for 2 hours to have dinner with me. You check messages during conversations. You make plans without considering my schedule, then expect me to adjust mine to accommodate yours. I don't expect that. Last week, you asked me to pick up your dry cleaning because you had a work event. The week before that, you asked me to handle the grocery shopping because you were too busy to meal plan. Yesterday, you wanted me to research vacation destinations while you finished a project. Those are normal relationship things. Couples help each other. Help goes both ways. When's the last time you did something to make my life easier without being asked? Elisha was quiet for several minutes, watching the family with the ducks pack up their belongings and head back toward the parking lot. I see your point, she said finally. Do you? Yes, I've been selfish. I've been taking more than I've been giving. And I want to change that. How? I'll be more present. I'll put my phone away during dinner. I'll ask about your work more often. Those are adjustments, not changes. What's the difference? Adjustments are temporary modifications you make to manage a situation. Changes are fundamental shifts in how you approach something. Okay, then I want to make changes. What kind of changes? Elisha turned to face him fully, her expression earnest. I want to make our relationship a priority. I want to include you in my decisions. I want to be the kind of partner you deserve. That sounds like something you read in a relationship article. Maybe I did. Maybe I've been researching how to be better at this. You've been researching? I Googled how to balance career and relationship after you left. Marcus almost smiled despite himself. And what did the internet tell you? That communication is key. That you have to make time for each other. That relationships require intentional effort. Revolutionary insights. Don't be sarcastic. I'm trying here. Are you trying or are you problem solving? Because those are different things too. What do you mean? I mean, you're approaching this like a work challenge. Identify the problem, research solutions, implement best practices. But relationships aren't projects you can manage. They're living things that require constant attention and care. I can give constant attention and care. Can you? Because 3 months ago, you told me you needed space. 2 months ago, you said you were too busy for a vacation. Last month, you canceled our anniversary dinner for a work emergency that turned out to be a client wanting to move a meeting. I know I've made mistakes. They're not mistakes, Elisha. They're choices. You choose work over us every time there's a conflict. You choose your phone over conversation. You choose your comfort over my needs. That's not true. Prove it. How? Marcus pulled out his phone and set it on the bench between them. Turn yours off. Right now? Right now. For the rest of this conversation. What if there's an emergency? What kind of emergency? I don't know. Something at work? On a Sunday afternoon? You never know. Turn it off, Elisha. She hesitated, then pulled out her phone. The screen showed multiple notification badges across various apps. Her thumb hovered over the power button. This feels like a test. It is a test. And you're failing it by negotiating instead of just doing it. Elisha powered down the phone with obvious reluctance, then placed it beside Marcus's on the bench. There. Happy? It's a start. But Marcus could see the anxiety building in her posture, the way her eyes kept drifting to the dark screen every few seconds. Tell me about Jordan, he said. What about him? How often do you text with him? He's a coworker. We text about work stuff. How often? I don't know. When necessary. Every day? Maybe. Multiple times a day? Sometimes. Do you text with me multiple times a day? Elisha's jaw tightened. That's different. How? You don't need constant communication. You're not working on urgent projects with me. I'm working on a relationship with you. That's pretty urgent to me. You know what I mean. I know that you find time to stay in constant communication with Jordan about work, but you can't find time to ask me how my day went. I do ask how your day went. When? While you're scrolling through your phone? While you're getting ready for another work event? While you're mentally composing responses to other people's messages? I'm present when I ask. Are you? Because it feels like you're checking a box on your girlfriend duties list. Ask about boyfriend's day? Check. Show minimal interest in response? Check. Change subject back to work? Check. Elisha's phone screen lit up briefly as a notification tried to push through despite the device being powered down. Both of them looked at it instinctively. See, Marcus said. Even when it's off, you're drawn to it. I'm not drawn to it. You looked at it before I did. So did you. Because I was watching you. They sat in uncomfortable silence for several minutes. Around them, the park continued its Sunday afternoon rhythm of families walking dogs, couples jogging together, children playing on equipment while parents watched from benches. I don't know how to be different, Elisha said finally. What do you mean? I don't know how to be the kind of person who can be successful at work and present in a relationship at the same time. I've never seen anyone do it successfully. You've never seen anyone do it, or you've never paid attention to people who do it. Maybe the second one. David and Sarah have been married for 8 years. They both have demanding careers, but when they're together, they're actually together. David's a freelancer. He sets his own schedule. Sarah's a surgeon. She doesn't set her own schedule. But when she comes home, she puts her phone in a drawer and doesn't look at it until the next morning. That's different. How? Medical emergencies are real emergencies. Marketing crises are just marketing crises. Marcus felt something shift in his understanding. You know that what you do isn't actually urgent most of the time. I didn't say that. You just said marketing crises aren't real emergencies. I meant compared to life and death situations. But you treat them like life and death situations. You respond to Jordan's texts like he's bleeding out in an alley somewhere. I respond quickly because that's what good team members do. And what do good girlfriends do? Elisha was quiet for a long moment. Be present. Be supportive. Be honest. Have you been honest with me? What do you mean? I mean, have you told me the truth about what you want? About what you're willing to sacrifice to get it? About where I actually rank in your priorities? I want to be with you. That's not what I asked. Yes, I've been honest. Have you? Because if you'd been honest from the beginning, you would have told me that your career comes first, second, and third, and I come somewhere after that. If you'd been honest, you would have said that you're not ready for a serious relationship because you don't have the emotional bandwidth for one. I am ready for a serious relationship. No, you're ready for a relationship that's serious enough to provide you with stability and support, but not so serious that it requires you to make any real sacrifices or changes. That's not fair. It's accurate. You want a relationship that costs you nothing but gives you everything. Elisha's phone buzzed again, the vibration audible against the bench even though the screen remained dark. Her hand moved toward it involuntarily before she caught herself. "Go ahead," Marcus said. "Check it. I don't need to. You want to." Wanting and needing are different things, are they? Because from where I'm sitting, your wants and needs look pretty much the same. You want constant connection to work, so you need to check your phone. You want to feel important and indispensable, so you need to respond immediately to every message. You want career success, so you need to sacrifice everything else. I don't sacrifice everything else. What don't you sacrifice? I don't sacrifice us. What's left of us to sacrifice? We don't spend quality time together. We don't share interests or activities. We don't make plans or build memories. We just coexist in the same space while you live your real life through that device. Elisha picked up her phone and powered it back on. The screen immediately flooded with notifications. "I can't do this," she said, scrolling through messages. "I can't just disconnect from everything that matters to me." "I'm not asking you to disconnect from everything. I'm asking you to disconnect for 2 hours to have a conversation with someone who supposedly matters to you. You do matter to me. Then act like it." But Elisha was already typing responses, her attention split between their conversation and the digital demands competing for her focus. "There's a crisis with the Meridian presentation," she said, not looking up from her screen. "The client wants to move the timeline up by 2 weeks. So handle it tomorrow. I need to call the team together tonight. We'll have to restructure the entire campaign schedule. It's Sunday. I know what day it is." "Do you? Because you're about to sacrifice our relationship conversation to deal with a work problem that didn't exist an hour ago and probably isn't as urgent as you think it is." "This is exactly what I'm talking about," Elisha said, standing up from the bench with her phone pressed to her ear. "You don't understand the pressure I'm under. I understand that you're choosing that pressure over everything else in your life. I'm not choosing it. It's my job. It's your choice to prioritize your job over your relationships. It's your choice to be available 24 hours a day for work while being emotionally unavailable for the people who love you." Elisha covered the phone with her hand. "I have to take this call." "No, you don't. You want to take this call because dealing with work problems feels easier than dealing with relationship problems." "That's not true. Prove it. Hang up the phone and finish our conversation." Elisha looked at him for a long moment, her expression cycling through frustration, guilt, and something that looked like panic. Then she put the phone back to her ear. "Jordan? Yeah, I can talk. What's the situation?" Marcus stood up and gathered his coffee cup. "I'll see you at home." "Marcus, wait." She covered the phone again. "Don't leave. I just need 5 minutes to handle this." "It won't be 5 minutes. And even if it was, you just showed me exactly where I rank in your priorities." "That's not fair. This is an emergency." "No, it's not. It's a client moving a timeline. It's a scheduling problem. It's work. But you're treating it like it's more important than saving your relationship." "I can do both." "No, you can't. You can't be fully present for work and fully present for us at the same time. And you consistently choose work." Marcus started walking toward the parking area. Behind him, he could hear Elisha continuing her phone conversation, her voice taking on the efficient, professional tone she used for managing crises that weren't actually crises. He drove back to David's apartment feeling strangely calm. The conversation had confirmed what he'd already known, but been reluctant to accept. Elisha wasn't capable of being the kind of partner he needed, not because she lacked the ability, but because she lacked the desire to prioritize their relationship over her other commitments. "How did it go?" David asked when Marcus walked through the door. Exactly like you predicted. She chose the phone? She chose the phone. I'm sorry, man. I'm not. I'm relieved. Relieved? I know where I stand now. I know what I'm dealing with. I can stop hoping she'll change and start making decisions based on what's actually happening. Marcus's phone buzzed with a text from Elisha. Emergency resolved. Can we continue talking? He showed the message to David, who shook his head. Even her apologies are about convenience. What do you mean? She dealt with her work emergency, so now she's ready to deal with you. Like you're next on her task list. Marcus set his phone aside without responding. For the first time in months, he wasn't going to adjust his schedule to accommodate Elisha's availability. He wasn't going to drop everything to have a conversation when it was convenient for her. 20 minutes later, another message arrived. Where did you go? I looked for you in the parking lot. Then another. I understand you're upset, but we need to finish talking. Then another. Can you please respond so I know you're okay? David watched the messages accumulate on Marcus's phone. Now she's worried about you not being available. Funny how that works. She's getting a taste of what you've been feeling for months. I don't want revenge, I just want clarity. Sometimes they're the same thing. That evening, Marcus made a decision that felt both terrifying and liberating. He opened his laptop and started looking at apartments. Not because he was definitely leaving, but because he wanted to know what his options looked like if staying became impossible. The search revealed dozens of one-bedroom places within his budget, studios with character in neighborhoods he'd always wanted to explore, loft spaces that could accommodate his woodworking hobby. For the first time in years, he imagined living somewhere that reflected his choices rather than their compromises. His phone continued buzzing throughout the evening. Elisha's messages evolved from confusion to frustration to something approaching desperation. Marcus, this is childish. We need to talk. I'm coming to David's place to get you. Your brother won't tell me which apartment he lives in. This is ridiculous. I'm your girlfriend. Please just tell me what you want me to do. Marcus finally responded with a single message. I want you to think about whether you're ready to be in a relationship or just ready to have someone waiting for you while you live your life. What does that mean? It means you need to decide what you actually want, not what you think you should want. I want you. No, you want the idea of me. You want the security and support I provide without the inconvenience of actually prioritizing our relationship. That's not true. Then prove it. How? Figure it out. But don't figure it out with words. Figure it out with actions. Marcus turned off his phone after sending that message. For the first time in months, he fell asleep without checking for text messages or wondering what crisis Elisha might be managing without him. He slept deeply and woke up feeling more rested than he had in weeks. The next morning, David made coffee and toast while Marcus reviewed the apartment listings he'd bookmarked the night before. Find anything interesting? A few possibilities. There's a place downtown with a workshop space included. Another one near the river with good morning light. You're really doing this. I'm preparing to do this. There's a difference. What's the difference? Preparing means I have options. Actually doing it means I've chosen one of those options.
When will you know which one you're choosing? Marcus looked at his phone, still dark on the kitchen counter. When I turn that back on and see what's waiting for me. Marcus turned his phone back on Tuesday morning to find 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. The digital avalanche started Sunday night and continued through Monday, creating a timeline of Elisha's emotional progression from anger to bargaining to something approaching panic. The early messages were defensive. You're being manipulative by ignoring me. This silent treatment is immature. I don't deserve to be punished for having a career. By Monday afternoon, the tone had shifted. I talked to my boss about reducing my hours. I deleted work apps from my phone. I want to make this work. The latest messages, sent around midnight, revealed a different kind of desperation. I went to 3 different places looking for you. David won't talk to me. I don't know what to do. Marcus read through the progression without feeling the familiar tug of guilt or responsibility. The messages read like a negotiation strategy rather than genuine change, each one calculated to produce a specific response from him. His brother emerged from the bedroom with messy hair and yesterday's clothes. The phone's been buzzing all night. She's persistent. Persistent isn't the same as committed. What's your plan? Marcus poured coffee and looked out the window at the city beginning its Tuesday routine. Construction crews heading to job sites, office workers walking to subway stations, delivery trucks navigating narrow streets. People with clear destinations and defined purposes. "I'm going to work," he said. "Then I'm going to make a decision." About what? About whether I'm going home or going apartment hunting. At the construction site, Marcus found himself able to focus completely for the first time in months. Without the constant background noise of relationship anxiety, he moved through his responsibilities with clarity and precision. He coordinated with subcontractors, reviewed blueprints, and solved problems as they arose. His foreman, Jake, noticed the change immediately. "You seem different today." "Different how?" "Present, like you're actually here instead of thinking about somewhere else." "I am actually here." "Good, because we need to talk about the Henderson project. The client wants to expand the scope, but they don't want to extend the timeline." Marcus spent the next 2 hours working through logistics and resource allocation, problems that had clear parameters and achievable solutions. It felt good to deal with challenges that could be resolved through competence and planning rather than emotional navigation. During lunch, he drove to the apartment complex he'd identified the night before. The leasing agent, a woman named Patricia with efficient energy and a warm smile, showed him a corner unit with large windows and hardwood floors. "The workshop space is in the basement," she explained, leading him down a concrete staircase. Previous tenant was a furniture maker, left all the electrical work in place. The space was perfect, clean, well lit, with enough room for a proper workbench and tool storage. Marcus could envision spending evenings here, building things with his hands, creating something tangible and useful. "When would you need to move in?" Patricia asked. "Soon, possibly this weekend." "We can make that happen. First month, last month, security deposit. I'll need employment verification and references." "I can get you those today." Marcus signed a preliminary lease agreement and wrote a check for the deposit. The action felt both impulsive and inevitable, like stepping off a ledge he'd been standing on for months. His phone buzzed as he walked back to his truck. Alicia's name appeared with a message that made him pause. "I quit the Meridian account." Marcus stared at the words, trying to process their significance. The Meridian account was everything to Elisha. Her chance at promotion, her path to senior associate, her validation as a marketing professional. He called her back. "Marcus?" Her voice sounded raw, exhausted. "What do you mean you quit the account?" "I told my boss I needed to step back from the project. I recommended Jordan to take over." "Why?" "Because you were right. Because I was choosing work over everything else. Because I don't want to lose you." Marcus sat in his truck outside the apartment complex, watching people move through their lives with apparent purpose and direction. "Elisha, you didn't need to quit your biggest project." "Yes, I did. I needed to show you that you matter more than any client or promotion or career opportunity. Quitting one project isn't the same as changing your relationship with work. It's a start. Is it? Or is it a dramatic gesture designed to get me to come home so you can gradually go back to your old patterns?" "It's not a gesture. I'm serious about this." "What happens next month when there's a new crisis? What happens when your boss offers you the next big opportunity? What happens when Jordan gets the promotion you wanted because you stepped away?" "I don't know, but I know I'd rather find out with you than without you." Marcus felt the familiar pull of hope mixed with skepticism. The words sounded sincere, but Elisha had always been good with words. "I need to see it," he said. "See what?" "I need to see you actually living differently, not just talking about living differently." "Come home, let me show you." "Not yet." "When?" "When I'm convinced you've changed your relationship with work, not just your current project." "How long will that take?" "However long it takes." Marcus ended the call and sat in silence for several minutes. Through his windshield, he could see the apartment building where he'd just signed a lease, a concrete representation of his independence. Behind him lay the city where Elisha was presumably reevaluating her priorities. He drove back to the construction site and worked until 6, then returned to David's apartment to find his brother cooking dinner and watching a documentary about deep-sea fishing. "How did the apartment hunting go?" David asked. "I signed a lease." "Congratulations." Or condolences. I can't tell which is appropriate. Both, probably. Marcus's phone rang. Elisha again. "I'm cooking dinner," she said when he answered. "Your favorite, lemon chicken with roasted vegetables." "That's nice." "I thought maybe you could come home. We could eat together and talk." "I'm not ready to come home yet." "When will you be ready?" "I don't know." "Marcus, I'm trying. I really am. I spent all day today thinking about what you said, about what I want versus what I think I should want." "And what did you conclude?" "That I want a life with you more than I want career success. That I want to be present more than I want to be important. That I want to build something real with someone I love." The words were everything Marcus had wanted to hear for months. They were also exactly what someone would say if they wanted to manipulate him into coming back. "I believe that you believe that right now," he said. "What does that mean?" "It means you're scared of losing me, so you're willing to say whatever you think will bring me back. But I don't know if you're actually willing to change your behavior long term." "How can I prove it to you?" "By living differently whether I'm there or not. By making choices that prioritize our relationship even when it's inconvenient." "I can do that." "Then do it. But do it for yourself, not for me." "What's the difference?" "If you do it for me, you'll resent the sacrifice. If you do it for yourself, it becomes who you are." Elisha was quiet for a long moment. "Will you at least think about coming home this weekend?" "I'll think about it." "Thank you." After the call, Marcus helped David with dinner, and they ate while watching the fishing documentary. The narrator described the patience required for deep-sea fishing, the long hours of waiting for something substantial to bite. "Relationships are like fishing," David observed. "You can't force the fish to bite. You can only create the right conditions and wait." "What are the right conditions for a relationship?" "Mutual respect, consistent effort, shared priorities." "And if those conditions don't exist?" "Then you're not fishing. You're just sitting in a boat hoping something magical will happen." Over the next 3 days, Elisha sent updates about her life without the Meridian Project. She was leaving work at reasonable hours. She was keeping her phone in another room during dinner. She was reading books again, going to yoga classes, calling friends she hadn't spoken to in months.
The messages felt different from her previous attempts at reconciliation. Less desperate, more reflective. She wasn't promising to change. She was describing changes she'd already made. Friday afternoon, she sent a photo of a painting she'd started, something she hadn't done since college. The image showed a city street at dusk, soft lights beginning to glow in windows, people walking home from work with relaxed postures. "It's not very good," her accompanying message read, "but it felt good to make something that wasn't for a client or a deadline." Marcus found himself studying the painting for several minutes. It wasn't technically proficient, but it had something his relationship with Elisha had been missing for months. Presence, attention to detail, care applied without agenda. That evening, he called her. "Hi," she said, and he could hear genuine surprise in her voice. "Hi, how was your day?" "Quiet. Good. I had lunch with my sister. Took a walk along the river. Started reading that book you recommended months ago. The one about the furniture maker? That's the one. You were right. It's beautiful." "What do you like about it?" "The way he describes working with wood. How each piece has its own grain and character. How you have to pay attention to what the material wants to become instead of forcing it into your vision." Marcus smiled despite himself. "That's a good metaphor for relationships." "Is it?" "I think so. You have to pay attention to what wants to emerge between two people instead of trying to force it into some predetermined shape." "I've been forcing things, haven't I?" "We both have. I was trying to force you to be someone you weren't ready to be. You were trying to force our relationship to fit around a life that didn't have room for it." "And now?" "Now I think we both have some figuring out to do." They talked for over an hour without either of them checking their phones or mentioning work deadlines. The conversation felt easy, natural, like rediscovering a language they'd both forgotten how to speak. "Marcus?" Elisha said as the call was winding down. "Yeah? I know you signed a lease on an apartment. How do you know that?" "I called Patricia. The leasing agent. I told her I was your girlfriend and I wanted to surprise you with something for the new place. What did she tell you? That you put down a deposit on a corner unit with workshop space. That you're planning to move in this weekend. Marcus felt a mixture of irritation and curiosity. And I wanted you to know that I think it's a good decision. You do? You need to know that you can live without me, that you have options, that you're choosing to be with me instead of just defaulting to it. That's a surprisingly mature perspective. I've had a lot of time to think this week. And what else have you concluded? That I love you enough to let you go if that's what's best for you. And that I hope you love me enough to give me a chance to earn you back. Saturday morning, Marcus moved his belongings into the new apartment. David helped him load furniture and boxes, and Patricia provided a small moving cart for the heavier items. The space felt immediately comfortable, like putting on clothes that actually fit. Marcus spent the afternoon arranging furniture and setting up the workshop, losing himself in the simple pleasure of creating a space that reflected his choices. Around 6, his doorbell rang. Through the peephole, he saw Elisha standing in the hallway with a small potted plant and a nervous expression. He opened the door. "I brought a housewarming gift," she said, holding up the plant. "It's a jade tree. They're supposed to be good luck for new beginnings." "Thank you. Come in." She entered slowly, looking around at the space with genuine interest rather than judgment. "It's beautiful," she said. "The light is amazing. The workshop sold me on it. Can I see?" Marcus led her downstairs and showed her the basement space. Elisha examined the workbench and tool storage with the same attention she used to apply to marketing presentations. "You could build amazing things here," she said. "That's the plan." They went back upstairs and Marcus made coffee. They sat by the large windows watching the sunset paint the city in warm colors. "So what happens now?" Elisha asked. "I don't know. What do you want to happen?" "I want to date you." "Date me?" "I want to start over. I want to court you properly this time. I want to show you who I am when I'm not trying to be someone else." "And what about your career?" "I'll have a career, but I won't let it have me." "What does that look like practically?" "Boundaries, real ones. No work calls after 7 p.m. No emails on weekends. No checking my phone during conversations with people I care about." "Those sound like rules you could break when convenient." "They're not rules. They're values, and values don't change based on convenience." Marcus studied her face, looking for signs of the desperation or manipulation he'd grown accustomed to. Instead, he saw something that looked like peace. "Okay," he said. "Okay what?" "Okay, let's date. Let's see what emerges when we both pay attention to what wants to develop instead of trying to force something that isn't working." Elisha smiled, and for the first time in months, it looked completely genuine. "I'd like that." 6 months later, Marcus was working in his shop when Elisha knocked on the basement door. She'd driven over after work with takeout from the Thai place they both liked. "How's the bookshelf coming?" she asked, examining the piece he'd been crafting for his living room. "Slowly. The wood keeps teaching me things I didn't know I needed to learn." "Like what?" "Patience. Attention to detail. The difference between forcing something and letting it happen naturally." Elisha smiled. "Sounds familiar." They ate dinner by his windows, talking about their days, their plans for the weekend, a book they were both reading. Elisha's phone sat silent in her purse, and Marcus realized he couldn't remember the last time he'd seen her check it during a meal. "I have something to tell you," she said as they finished eating. "What?" "I got offered the senior associate position." "That's amazing! Congratulations!" "I turned it down." Marcus set down his fork. "Why?" "Because it would require me to manage 3 accounts simultaneously. Because it would mean traveling 2 weeks out of every month. Because it would turn me back into someone I don't want to be." "And you're okay with that decision?" "I'm more than okay with it. I'm proud of it." "What will you do instead?" "I'm starting my own consulting practice. Small clients, sustainable workload, work I actually care about." "That sounds perfect for you." "It sounds perfect for us." Marcus reached across the table and took her hand. "I'm proud of you too." "For what?" "For figuring out what you actually want instead of what you think you should want." "I learned that from someone very wise." "Yeah? Who?" "This guy I'm dating. He has a workshop and makes beautiful things with his hands." Marcus laughed. "He sounds like a catch." "He is. I'm planning to keep him around for a long time." How long? However long it takes. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.